All right, I'm super excited today because I got my buddy Chris Stuart. Listen, you really want to pay attention to this. Chris oversees over 55,000 agents worldwide as the CEO and president for Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. This is going to be a good one. All right, Chris, really appreciate you taking the time, man. Really appreciate you coming down, spending time with our agents, investing in them, all that you do from the brand. Listen, if somebody doesn't know who you are, can you give us a little background on kind of how you got started, where you're from, that kind of information?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of an interesting story. I have a degree in biochemistry. And I knew, academically I enjoyed science and math, but I knew professionally that's not what I wanted to do. But I didn't really know. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew what I didn't want to do, right? And because of that degree, though, I got an opportunity in technology. Took a job right out of college with a company in New York City. Transferred with that company out to Silicon Valley. Worked in technology, actually for Oracle Corporation for a while as a global account executive. And then met what would become a lifelong friend and mentor, Gino Blafari.
Yeah.
Who hopefully maybe have on this episode at some point in the future. But Gino and I built a great friendship. I joined his leadership team of the company that we built and ultimately sold to HomeServices of America. That was 2014. Mm-hmm. And then in 2015, I came over as part of the brand in the transition after we sold the company. And just have carried a number of different responsibilities. I was a chief operating officer until last year, January of last year, when I became the CEO.
Yeah.
So I've had, it's always interesting, I find, with people, and I know your career is probably pretty similar, is you never understand all the little steps in your career path and what they mean and how they're related on a looking forward basis. Mm-hmm. But always looking back,
you can see it.
You can see it, and it's like the perfect series of experiences.
Yeah.
And the perfect sequences of the people that you meet and opportunities that all come together to put you wherever you are right now. And I would say that's very much the way I look at my career. The time that I had early on in my career in technology and what I was doing, this was the mid-'90s and the early part of the 2000s. We saw the dot-com, boom and bust, and I was in technology for all of that. And what those experiences have done to help me shape the role that technology and marketing and growth now play into the Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices story is incredible.
Yeah.
And I would never have imagined in a million years that I'd be here, in this position. But I'm obviously excited and inspired by it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. When you start looking back, you and I have talked about this before, that initial start in tech, before it was really even understood how that might even apply to the real estate business.
Yeah.
And to see now what the role it plays. Let's talk about growth. I mean, obviously that was the story with Intero. That's been your story throughout your career. How does growth play from an agent perspective, a company perspective, a brand perspective? What's your feeling on kind of focusing on that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great question. And I think it's actually a question, growth and size and scope and scale. I think they're talked about a lot in our industry. Mm-hmm. I mean, in what other industry do you have a dynamic where everybody's number one?
It's true.
Everybody's number one. Right. Everybody's the number one, everything. And I think that growth and scope and scale they lose their perspective. It's like, why is that important to a client?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why is growth important to an agent? And I think for me, I've always rooted my own ambition of growth in one fundamental principle, which is, am I helping the people around me get better?
Yeah.
That is the ultimate measurement of success related to growth is, are we attracting people that want to be here on the basis that they believe that by being here, they're going to get better?
Right.
And the flip side of that is as a part of the leadership team is, what are we doing to help fuel that improvement? Mm-hmm. And so if the result of that mission is growth, then I think that we've succeeded. but just, putting pins on the map, so to speak, just adding offices, just as an example, hiring agents just to have another name on the roster, I have no appetite for that. I've never been about that. I've always, fueled the growth mission from the perspective of what are we doing? And this is the ultimate, improvement, personal development industry, in my opinion. I love this industry for that reason. And so I've always believed that the people that I can influence in this industry, I want to do whatever I can to make them better, trusting that they're inspired by the same mission. What is it that they can do to inspire the people around them? And the way that I see this typically playing out is I'm most connected to the leaders within our network.
Right.
The broker owners, the sales managers, the people on the street like yourself that are leading the front lines related to, okay, what now can I do to attract agents? You. And so what can I do to influence and infuse you with an energy and pour into you that ability for and desire that you can turn around and do the same for your agents? And then what's most important and exciting is who are the agents where you're attracting? And are they trying to do the same thing for their clients? And if we have this harmony in the way that we're trying to grow our respective businesses with that spirit, I think it makes us unstoppable and unmatched. And we see the results speaking for themselves. National Association of Realtors puts out every 2 years a biannual study of all the franchise systems. And from 2017 to 2019, no one beat us in terms of net agent growth. We added over 6,500 agents in those 2 years. The next closest brand added only 3,300. A lot of the predominant brands, and you could see the study and see the names, but they went backwards. They lost agents. They lost offices. They lost agents, and most of them were flat. And so, to me, I feel a good energy around what we're doing, why we're growing, the results of our growth story, and the exciting thing is we're just getting started. And we just celebrated our 6-year birthday in 2019. September 2019, the network turned 6 years old, and we passed 50,000 agents. And I just feel like we're just getting started.
I agree, and I think one of the things that's critically important for us too, when we're talking about attracting agents, when you're talking about finding the right people, is what we're finding right now. I'll give you a perfect example. This month, I had interviews with 10 different agents, and to be perfectly frank, only 3 of them really kind of lined up with what we were looking for.
Perfect.
So these were new agents, first times that I'd met with those agents. So one of the things that I try to focus in is obviously agents that fall in line with us. First off, focusing on building relationships, integrity. It has to be beyond reproach. Secondly, we want people that are growth oriented. And when I say growth, I'm not talking just about their business. I want to see people that want to grow mentally, physically, spiritually. And because if one's off, none of them are going to grow.
That's right.
So we're really focused on people that have the integrity, are looking for growth, and to be perfectly frank, that are willing to change. The market's constantly changing. So if we're at a place where we've got people that are open to change, coachable, the stuff we're providing them, they're focused on growing themselves in all areas of their lives, and they've got the integrity. Listen, I don't think there's any way, like you said, that we can be stopped from that standpoint. So I've almost come to the place where I believe, as our company, we're at a place where it's almost as important who we say no to as it is who we say yes to. Because if we say yes to someone else, we're saying no to someone else. And so what we're really trying to focus on personally as a company is really focusing on those people that want to grow in all areas of their life. And it's been working. It's been great. And thank you for your leadership in that. Obviously, the things that the brand is doing. Let's talk a little bit, kind of shifting back towards that. And from the brand perspective, let's talk about some of the initiative. What do you see going forward? What are some of the areas that agents should be focusing on? Some of the things that maybe we're doing as a brand, some things that agents specifically should be focused on.
We've got a fundamental, potentially terminal flaw in the way that we've historically gone about building our businesses. And when I say we, I'm talking about, all of us, agents and producers, operators in the industry. And that is this. The real estate customer, they don't do this transaction enough to develop muscle memory, which means that they don't really know enough about what's going on in this space to be able to determine what's important about the real estate agent they choose and the network, the integrity of the network of that real estate agent and who they're surrounding themselves with. The title agent, the escrow agent, the attorneys, whatever the local customs are in terms of how deals get done. But that ecosystem of value-added contributors to the transaction are so critically important. But as a consumer, if I'm not involved in that with enough repetition to understand, I don't even know what's important. So I'm unconsciously incompetent. I don't know what I don't know as a real estate consumer. And agents, I believe in the way that we're building our businesses, we're ignoring that. And how do I know that? Because I see it bear itself out in the real estate customers' loyalty, how repetitive they are with our agents. And the stats that show that are when we routinely survey our real estate customers and ask them, did you like your real estate agent? 80+% of the time they say, absolutely. I loved her, loved him. I would absolutely do business with him again. Then when we survey those same customers on their next transaction, we ask them, did you use your previous agent? Only 12% say that they did.
Right.
So this gap between the 80% of real estate customers that desire to use you again, but the 12% that do, this to me is a terminal flaw in our business. And I believe that a lot of the reason that gap exists is because we're not feeding into all of the dynamics of the realtor's value, and we've got to close that gap. And so my vision of the way that I want our agents to associate with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices and their local leadership and their local company is in a way that creates a nice chemistry between here's me as a real estate agent, here's my experience, here's what I've done, here's what I bring to the table, and that's enhanced because of my relationship with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. Yeah. And I think that their ability, an agent's ability to create a narrative around that message because of their association with Berkshire Hathaway is going to be much more compelling to close that gap than if they were just to continue to be seen as this small little individual practitioner.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And so, I'm just doing everything that I can to influence the agents to use the materials that we have around, supporting that vision.
Yeah, and I would say you've mentioned this before too, that there's so many distractions for agents. Yeah. Whether that be from chasing the next shiny object that's going to build your business in no time. What would you say are some of the biggest distractions that agents get caught up in instead of just building those relationships with their existing sphere of influence?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it, Jimmy, a lot of the distraction to me is a byproduct of an agent not having a solid business plan. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be really anything sophisticated. And I think that's what hangs a lot of agents up is they probably know, God, I should have more of a North Star in how I'm operating, but they either, lack the confidence or security to ask for help. I always see this, there's two types of people. Those that, seek out help and coachable and the things that you mentioned earlier, which I think are spot on, or those that don't. And those that don't, I find they either don't want to admit that they don't know, or they are too selfish to share the credit. They think, well, if I go ask him or her for help and then I find success, do I have to share that success credit with them? And it's a real human psychology that's at play here. So going back to my point is, for whatever reason, there's a hesitancy. There's a reluctance to create a plan. Because there's a reluctance to have a plan, now I don't have key lead measures, key objectives, right, measurable things that I should be doing and holding myself accountable to. And because now I'm this rudderless boat in the middle of the bay out here, I'm just kind of floating and just gravitating to whatever I believe is productive. And a lot of it's just not productive activity, right? And so I think that's kind of the key heading is, am I operating in the presence or in the absence of a plan? Are there some key anchoring points in terms of the activities I need to be focused on? And then, are those activities influenceable and predictive of the results that I want to have? Right? And I think that's another thing is, the beautiful thing about this industry is it's limitless. And so, but at the same time, I can waste a lot of time chasing ghosts and produce really nothing. And so, to your part of your question, I see people chasing technology. I see people chasing advertising. I see people chasing leads. I see people chasing a lot of things that at the end of the day waste a lot of time and money, and for the most part push them further away from the goals that that they have for themselves.
Yeah, I think you hit on some key points, and what we've tried to do is model, and I appreciate the modeling, from your level down to the local office. I know that our leadership team has multiple ones we're in meetings every week holding us accountable, talking about what we're doing today for lead measures. We do that with our agents, where we have the option for them on Fridays as our kind of accountability and collaboration days. And so we'll have a 30-minute call where they can call in. We want to focus on those things that we know that if they have this many conversations, if they focus on these type of things in their business, they're going to lead to the business. Being similar to, understanding, and I know you've taught this to us, a standpoint that really my weight doesn't have a lot to do with what I ate this morning. It's really what I've been doing the last couple of months. It's the same way in our real estate business. So I think you're right. I mean, I think once you have a plan, some sense of accountability, there's never been an area of my life that I've added accountability that hadn't gotten better.
Right.
And so why would I not apply that in my business?
Exactly.
So I appreciate what we're doing as a brand to try to bring that ability for our agents to have that opportunity to grow, whatever it looks like to them.
Yeah.
They tell us.
That's right.
So what would you say as far as those agents that maybe are out there that are thinking, okay, I know there's got to be a little bit more here. I'm looking and knowing that I could have the opportunity to grow my business. From a brand perspective, from a company perspective, what is it that you see really kind of in our area that you love about our local area, some of the things that you see with our, obviously the atmosphere we live in, and kind of what you're seeing nationally and kind of the focus we're seeing here?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Nationally, we have a real challenge with inventory. That's just a big problem. And where I see agents and companies, whether they're in our network or not, because I do a lot of masterminding across the industry, it is typically a function of the lack of inventory. And what I absolutely love about Beach Properties of Florida is you guys have such a command of the inventory because of the exclusive nature of your development relationships. And that is unique. That is very unique, and I think it provides, I know definitively, it provides a level of opportunity for new agents, mid-level agents looking to improve, luxury agents. When you have your finger on the pulse of the inventory and the pipeline and the development opportunities and the land and the entitlement deals that you guys have here in 30A and across the Panhandle here, that is a unique opportunity. And I know from meeting with you and the other leaders here is that's only going to improve. That's only going to expand and deepen and widen. So that's to me that is such a unique opportunity that you have with Beach Properties of Florida that most any real estate brokerage and agent population would kill for this the opportunity that you have here in whatever markets they're in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's I've been doing this now over 25 years here, grew up here, to see the opportunities that we have in Northwest Florida right now with the brand we have, with the leadership team we have, with the collaboration of our agents. There's never been a time that I've been more excited about the real estate business than it is right now. So let me kind of wrap this up kind of with, I'd love to just kind of hear, what are you excited about? What are you excited about the industry? What are you excited about just in the business in general as you're traveling around talking with agents all over the country?
Well, there's so many things. The threshold issue, I think about it this way. The threshold issue for our industry is product. And when I think about product, I think about new homes, okay? And I think about the rate at which sellers are selling their properties and moving. Right. Could be upsizing, downsizing, lateral moves, relocations, aging population, there's all sorts of dynamics that drive that, but it's the resale market and it's new homes. Well, new homes prior to the recession used to represent somewhere between 20 and 25% of all of our sales. After the recession, it got cut by more than half. We're now in a situation where new homes is starting to consistently and predictably increase. 2020 is supposed to be much better than 19. 19 was better than 18. And I believe that a primary reason that we've seen the reseller turnover go from an average of 6 to 8 years to 10 to 13 years is because we haven't had the product. Again, expanding, downsizing, doesn't matter the dynamic. If you don't have the product, even the people that desire to sell have nowhere to go or believe they don't have anywhere to go. Right. That when you look at those two dynamics coupled with, I think, a continued low rate environment, with most probably a continued strong employment outlook, I think we're going to see finally a loosening of the reseller turnover, create a lot more unit volume in our marketplace. I think it might ease prices, which again creates more activity. I think we continue to see an environment where most of our buyers are millennials, despite what all the media says. Right, so I'm just very optimistic. I'm very optimistic about the nature of the marketplace. Now, the variable is, what is a real estate agent's new narrative in that marketplace? How do they compete with the discounters and the disruptors and all the would-be competitors? And I firmly, again, believe it's about illustrating to a client that doesn't know all the value that they bring. All of the relational equity that agents bring because of the agents that they know in the marketplace and their ability to get deals done. Investors, construction loans, general contractors, mortgage lenders, like the variables that are involved in how all these deals come together, and an agent's ability to be able to, communicate to a client that they bring all of that as a service level, that's going to be key. Yeah. And the best storytellers amongst agents, the ones who really express the dynamics, the fabric that are involved in all of this and how to get deals done in these types of markets, they're going to win. Yeah. And I'm very convinced that our agents will win because of that relationship with Berkshire Hathaway. I think it's going to mean more and more to consumers moving forward that the real estate agent that they're doing business with is attached to a larger organization, a larger presence, and what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited about that opportunity for our agents.
It's an exciting time, especially here in Northwest Florida. When you start looking at this, I kind of joke that when you look around, it's almost like God spent a little extra time with these beaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it is.
For sure.
And so from that standpoint, it's extremely exciting time to be in this business, to be in this region, and to be with the brand. Yeah. So just want to say thanks. Not just for this. Really want to say thanks. There's not a week that goes by that our leadership team doesn't touch base with you, or you touch base with us, rather, at least a couple times. Yeah. So I really appreciate how you just believe in our area, believe in our company, and how you feed into our agents. Here again, being in town to just drop some wisdom on them. So thanks for everything.
Absolutely.
And I know this has been helpful. So have a great week. If I can do anything for you, I'm here. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.